Welcome to everyone, to the Nobel Peace Center, and to the seminar Music as a Weapon. A special welcome to the panelists seated here in the front, and to the moderators Kristin, Danielsen, and Sigbjørn Nedland. It's a great honor to have you here to discuss the importance of music in conflict areas. What happens when music festivals becomes a threat? How do musicians become leading figures in the struggle for peace? Why is music a powerful tool? Is music and art really that powerful? So many questions, and I'm sure so many answers. It's the fact that the freedom to express yourselves through music is threatened and even banned in many countries. Musical expressions are regarded as dangerous to governments and regimes. The freedom of expression through music is a right that cannot be taken for granted, and we will learn from your experiences during this evening. For the Nobel Peace Center, it's of course of great importance to highlight the freedom of expression, and we're inspired by some of the most significant Nobel Peace Prize laureates, like Aung San Suu Kyi, Liu Xiaobo, and Shirin Ebadi. And since the opening of this rather technical museum, you can't see the technical part because it's upstairs, but since the opening, music and documentary photography are artistic expressions we have prioritized, because the emotional power is undisputable. Touching, provoking, comforting, and moving. Emotional power communicates. And music brings people together. Where weapons make people hide in fear and leave the street, music has the opposite effect. Music has the power to tear down walls, to create unity and a consciousness around major conflicts. Music can be a weapon for peace. The artists and the festival organizers that we will meet today are from countries as varied as Mali, Morocco, Tanzania, Egypt, Palestine, and Norway, and yet they have all first-hand experience with the power of music. I'm looking so much forward to the debate, and once again, heartily welcome. I leave the floor now to the director of our favorite festival, Alexandra Arquette.
What can I do? Hello, welcome to the seminar here at the Nobel Peace Center. I'm very glad that we are the favorite festival of the center, because this means a lot to us. Every year we have a seminar here. Last year it was a big mess. We had Pussy Riot seminar about freedom of speech in Russia. So this year it's quite different, but as important. And I'm really happy that you all came, and I'm very proud that we have so lovely panelists. I know all of you from before, and what the reason why this why we wanted to do this seminar is that when we, as a festival organizer, I think we have this opportunity and need to tell our audience a little bit about what's happening around the world. And I think the festivals present here in one way or another are related to that. So you will meet directors from Morocco, from Tanzania, from Mali, from Norway, and we are all in a way quite related in that sense that music as a weapon is something that we can care about, and we can do something about putting it on the agenda, making people listen. And then we have the musicians. Today, 3 incredibly fantastic musicians that from their perspective, I think their relation to the topic will be quite different. I know that Tamer, for example, said that we never make music to be, we don't make music and think that this is a weapon and we will change the regime in the Middle East. But their music can, I think, move masses and make some changes. So I'm very proud having you here. I also recommend for all of you tonight we have, one thing is to listen to these great people and brave voices talk but they are musicians. So tonight there is a great lineup at the Beirut and Beyond Festival project at Blå, starting at 8 o'clock, so you can just take the tram directly. And then tomorrow, the beautiful Rokia Traoré will be singing at Centrum Scene, a must-see. And Saturday, Festival au Dessert will celebrate Malian music at Rockefeller. So you should really read this program and go especially to these concerts because they are important and it's very, very good musicians. That's it. Have a very nice afternoon and I hope to see you around. Thank you. I forgot the most important thing. It's a great honor for me, of course, to give the stage to Rokia Traoré. We are starting with music, so give her a warm welcome.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Kalamandi in Bambara, it means bitter is misunderstanding.
Jonin siaka chan ambenanga lada ambenanga minau o mansama kokelenda. Halina Galina de mirina kilinye Gani keledo aninyon jugoya Ni keledo aninyon gorofo Ni keledo aninyon tonyo Neti duro Imadon wala ineti duro Idomaye neti kelefe Imadon kelemandi Kani jumonyo ya Idungani donyoya Igani adamade nyoya Koyande baroso etolo yoro ala Yante jonzi Kilendora Johnny Mofamu Ambe nana wati kama Ambebe ya baroningama Ala kuyanye baro yoro jonzi kilendora te Muna Johnny Mofamu Munsebi Johnny Mundebe Jombea Komungala Sebi Johnny Alanfari kulotandai koromana abifoson nisayana na tumubado bebeti da dondo bebora bogo joni bebi segi bodundo musebi joni jomambuza joni joni movamu
Thank you so much, Rokia. What a beautiful way to start this seminar. It almost feels like a crime to go back to talking and speaking again. Rokia will be performing tomorrow night at Centrum Scene. So welcome again. I am the one of two hosts who's going to moderate this seminar. I have a few practical notes. We're going to be here together until 7 o'clock this evening. There will be a short break at 6:15. There's a bar at the end that you can see almost. And there are, yes, someone's waving their arms. And there are toilets to the left in the red room at the back. Music as a Weapon is the title of this seminar. And we have collected leading festival directors, artists, and musicians to share ideas and stories with us. And we are also going to share. This seminar is being live streamed and is also being live tweeted. We have a Twitter person here who is live tweeting, and some questions that may come to that account will come to stage. So for any of you who have tweet thumbs, the hashtag is #MusicWeapon. Hashtag #MusicWeapon, so please join in. The network is Nobel Guest, and the password is Nobel. Pretty straightforward. So this seminar is in 3 sections. The first section will be in French and English, and the next 2 following sections will be in English. So to start off, I'd like you all to welcome Sigbjørn Nedland of the NRK to moderate the first part.
Thank you. And I would like to invite on stage 2 of our guests, Manny Ansar and Brahim Mazned. These 2 gentlemen are both doing wonderful work with festivals in their home countries. Festivals that are and have been very important in music, and that have also experienced a lot of commotion around the music and the fact that they are music festivals. So I'm very interested to hear what these 2 guys have to say about the theme of this conference. And I will start with you, Brahim. est-ce que, en votre expérience, la musique peut vraiment être une arme ou un véhicule pour délivrer des messages forts à la population ou au gouvernement, peut-être?
Merci beaucoup. Tout d'abord, merci à Alexandra et à l'équipe de Oslo World Music Festival et au Centre Nobel de la Paix de nous donner cette opportunité de s'exprimer ici. Pour répondre à votre question, quand nous avons commencé à réfléchir à créer ce festival il y a 10 ans au Maroc, j'ai proposé à ce que ce festival ait un sens politique. J'habite une ville qui est la capitale d'une région où on parle principalement le berbère. Une langue et une culture qui n'avait pas sa place ni dans les médias, ni dans les festivals, voire même interdite dans certains. Par exemple, la langue n'était pas exprimée, on ne pouvait pas appeler nos enfants avec des prénoms berbères. Et donc, il y avait ce courage il y avait besoin de ce courage de créer un rendez-vous où cette culture puisse être exposée sous les projecteurs et le même rendez-vous soit aussi ouvert à des cultures du monde entier. Parce qu'à mon avis, la meilleure façon de défendre sa culture, c'est aussi d'aimer celle de l'autre. Donc voilà comment c'est venu l'idée. Au bout de 10 ans de festival, la langue berbère, la langue amazigh, est aujourd'hui langue officielle dans la Constitution, parce que nous avons montré qu'il y avait, avec ces presque 1 demi-million de spectateurs qui venaient chaque année à ce festival, que cette culture et cette langue a toute sa place, qu'il ne peut pas y avoir une culture et une sous-culture. Les cultures devraient être dans la même ligne, il faut qu'ils aient la même place. Il ne peut pas y avoir une culture de caste parce que c'est la meilleure façon de créer de la frustration, de créer de la tension et de créer des conflits. Donc notre manière de faire une sorte la musique a participé, a été une arme qui a défendu quelque part la culture berbère et par là la diversité de toutes les cultures, parce que nous avons invité des cultures, des Kaneka, des cultures d'Amérique latine, des cultures d'Afrique, des Touaregs, c'est devenu le rendez-vous annuel de la diversité.
So he's telling us that he comes from an area in Morocco where the population is mainly the Berber people. They have a different culture, a different language than the rest of the country. And they have experienced through the times that they have not had the same rights, the same respect that other people from this country have had. It's a situation that we know from many countries, and you will hear it from Norway as well, actually. We also have had this kind of situation. But the festival that Brahim has been leading now for the past years have put this language, this culture, this people into a much more central place in the minds of people in his country. He tells us that the Berber language is now an official language of Morocco, which it wasn't before, and they have gained respect culturally and as a people as a result of the music and the festival. And I especially appreciate what you said about opening up and inviting the cultural diversity and the cultures of other countries to help promote the local language and the local culture, because it is in the communication between countries and cultures that we can really enhance the local culture as well. And that's a very interesting point of view that you gave us, I think.
J'ai envie juste de rajouter quelque chose, c'est que chaque année, nous montons des projets artistiques où nous réunissons des artistes de diverses cultures à travailler ensemble. Nous avons monté des projets, par exemple, avec des artistes de Nouvelle-Calédonie, des Kanaks, avec des musiciens de chez nous. Nous avons fait la même chose avec des Brésiliens, nous avons fait la même chose avec des artistes de La Réunion, nous avons fait la même chose avec les Catalans. On a monté un projet panafricain, le 3MA, qui est un projet qui a fait plus de 100 concerts à travers le monde avec Balaki Sissoko, avec Radzer, avec Drissel Maloumi. Donc c'est dans la rencontre entre les artistes que aussi les choses, je veux dire, c'est la meilleure façon d'apprécier la culture de l'autre. Et on se rend compte, en rencontrant la culture de l'autre, que quelque part, on se retrouve minoritaire. Et c'est comme ça, c'est la meilleure façon, je pense, d'être généreux. Et il n'y a que la musique qui peut permettre ça, à mon avis. Je pense que la musique est certainement, je crois qu'aucune religion au monde ne crée autant d'engouement que crée la musique. Voilà. Et c'est pour ça que c'est important que les artistes aussi, qu'on offre aux artistes ce genre de rencontre. On a vu hier à la soirée d'hier des artistes venus d'univers différents et on se rend compte qu'ils étaient à l'aise sur scène malgré leur diversité et leur... voilà. Donc parce que la musique permet ça, chose que ne permettent certainement pas d'autres esthétiques.
So Brahim's festival has created meetings, a meeting place for people of different cultures from different countries. You mentioned French-speaking people from Canada. You mentioned other groups, many groups that have been minority groups in their countries in different continents that you have been inviting and that have been sitting down, communicating, playing and working together with people from the local community. And that is a wonderful way of creating communication and enhancing the cultures of both the participating musicians or the participating artists in this project. So music, as you say, is probably the best vehicle for these kinds of encounters because it is a form of communication that can happen more easily across, for instance, language barriers, probably. Manny, on a parlé avant de l'expression musique comme une arme. Et vous avez dit que c'est bon, mais ça peut aussi être dangereux.
Oui, parce que là, quand je suis venu, je voulais d'abord dire que le message que j'ai, Rokia déjà l'a dit dans la chanson, donc je ne sais même plus ce qu'il faut dire. Elle a déjà expliqué exactement ce que je voulais dire. Elle a dit dans la chanson, un message de paix, un message pour dire que la vie est trop courte pour qu'on la gaspille en se battant, en faisant la guerre.
So Rokia has already taken your point and in her song given this message of peace. Mais musique comme une arme, ça peut être positif et ça peut aussi être dangereux. On a vu.
Quand je suis venu tout de suite, je vous ai demandé, parce que c'est écrit musique comme une arme. Je vous ai dit, mais c'est que musique comme une arme pour la paix ou une arme pour la guerre. Donc je vous ai demandé, c'est pour ça que je vous ai posé la question, parce que effectivement la musique peut être utilisée, et surtout utilisée pour la paix, mais on doit faire attention, dans certaines situations, on utilise des artistes, on utilise la force de l'audience des artistes, de la musique, pour pousser même souvent à la haine. Donc on doit faire attention sur ce côté. Il ne faut pas qu'on voit seulement le côté musique pour la paix. Mais ça, c'est juste quelque chose que je disais à vous entre parenthèses.
So he's saying that music can be a weapon of peace, but it can also be a weapon of war and a weapon of hate. So you have to be aware also this side of the coin, that music can be utilized to create hate.
Mais heureusement que dans la majorité des cas, la musique, les artistes sont des pacifistes et ils chantent la réconciliation, ils chantent le rapprochement. Je parle des cas uniques où des politiciens arrivent à utiliser un artiste pour le manipuler, pour l'amener à passer des messages de haine.
Luckily, most artists are ambassadors of peace, and they are using their music as a weapon of peace. But he's talking about the cases where maybe the leaders of a country or of a culture can convince the artists to be the opposite, the weapon of war and the weapon of hatred, by giving another message to the people. So we should be aware of this situation as well.
Maintenant, pour le Festival du désert de Tombouctou, en fait, il est né dans un contexte où il est porteur d'un message. C'est-à-dire notre histoire, l'histoire du festival est toujours liée à celle de la musique et de la paix.
And the history of the music festival in the desert is a history of music in the service of peace. Can we say it like that?
Parce que c'était une célébration de la paix retrouvée. On avait au début des années 90 une rébellion, qui est presque une guerre civile qui a beaucoup touché notre pays. Et en 1996, les Maliens se sont retrouvés, ils ont brûlé les armes et pour célébrer cette paix, ces retrouvailles, on a créé le festival au désert pour célébrer ça.
So the festival was created to celebrate the peace after the war at the beginning of the 90s. And when they laid down their arms and when they were trying to reconciliate, the festival was like a celebration.
Nous avons des gens qui, quelques années avant, se faisaient la guerre et pendant le festival, ils sont trouvés devant des artistes pour danser, pour s'amuser. Donc c'était vraiment le retrouvailles.
So playing music, dancing, and trying to put the whole war behind.
Yes.
Yeah, was the aim of the festival.
Mais je dois rappeler que l'histoire du Mali, l'histoire même du Mali, depuis les temps anciens, depuis le XIIIe siècle, à la naissance de l'Empire du Mali, c'était à travers des griots, ce qu'on appelle les griots, Bala Fasek et Rokia connaît, qui faisaient passer les messages. Quand il y avait des problèmes entre des royaumes, on ne pouvait pas se parler. C'est seulement les musiciens, c'est seulement les artistes qui avaient la possibilité d'aller d'un royaume en guerre vers un autre pour passer un message de paix.
So from the start of this culture in the area and from the start of Mali, there was the griots, the music people, the people who were telling stories and telling the story of the people in music and words. They were very important. They were the ones who could communicate also between warring partners, yes, right? Yes. And we have actually the same thing from ancient times in Norway with what's called a skald in the Norwegian history, which is very similar to the role of the griot in the West African history. So music has had historically a very important role as a mediator in the societies of West Africa, right?
Oui, exactement. C'est pour ça, lorsque le Mali a connu depuis 2 ans ce problème, le premier dans la société, la seule première couche sociale à s'élever, c'était les artistes. Chacun de son côté portait un message de paix, aussi bien à l'intérieur du Mali qu'à l'extérieur.
So the musicians took up this tradition and they were the first to react and they were the first to be delivering the message of peace that was needed in the society.
Parce que les populations sont fatiguées de politiciens, les artistes, en tout cas chez nous au Mali, les artistes sont mieux écoutés que les politiciens. Donc, c'est à travers eux que le message passe le mieux.
So people are tired of the politicians. They are listening more intensely to what the artists and the musicians are saying than to what the politicians are saying. And therefore, it's a good vehicle. It's a way to communicate with the people through the music.
Si un artiste comme Rokia Traoré parle au Mali, elle est mieux écoutée que notre Premier ministre, malheureusement, tu vois, ou bien heureusement. Donc, j'ai dit, Rokia parle à la radio,
Oui.
à la télé, le public porte plus d'attention que lorsque c'est le Premier ministre du Mali qui parle. C'est pour cela.
Okay, yeah. So when Rokia is talking to the people and singing to the people, they pay more attention than when the president is talking to the people. And that's not a bad thing, I think.
Aujourd'hui, la situation où est le Mali aujourd'hui, ou le Nord, on nous a, par exemple, les politiciens nous demandent aujourd'hui de retourner le festival, de revenir à Tombouctou le plus tôt. Nous, on s'inquiète un peu par rapport aux sécurités de nos visiteurs, mais le gouvernement et même les Nations Unies nous disent non, il faut revenir, parce que si on voit le festival, ça veut dire que la paix est revenue. Donc, vous voyez, parce qu'on connaît le rôle de la musique, des festivals dans la réconciliation.
So the authorities and even the United Nations has seen the importance of the festival, and they are pushing now to get the festival back so that the festival can be arranged again. And hopefully they will be able to make the security good enough for the festival to return to its home.
Nous avons beaucoup d'exemples chez nous au Mali où la musique joue vraiment ce rôle de rapprochement des peuples. Nous avons beaucoup d'exemples où où les artistes au Mali jouent le rôle de rapprochement entre les populations.
So the music is leading to reconciliation and to contacts between the different groups in Mali, and we have lots of examples of the music doing this. Est-ce qu'on a des choses comme ça en Maroc aussi?
La musique au Maroc a d'abord toujours été, a toujours occupé l'espace public. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a beaucoup de sociétés où la musique est plutôt dans le salon. Au Maroc, et principalement chez la communauté berbère amazigh, la musique, elle est dans l'espace public. Et quand on dit l'espace public, c'est-à-dire que les gens traversent d'une montagne à une autre ou d'une plaine à une autre. Donc il y a le contact public. Par exemple, chez nous, historiquement, pendant l'été, quand on a fait les récoltes et tout ça, les gens se retrouvent dans ce qu'on appelle les moussem, et les gens viennent de tous les villages, toutes les régions. Et c'est le moment où les gens aussi se marient parce qu'ils se rencontrent, les uns rencontrent les autres. Donc historiquement, la musique a dans ces espaces-là un rôle extrêmement important. C'est historique. D'ailleurs, le Maroc est peut-être un des rares pays du sud de la Méditerranée, voire en Afrique, où il y a autant de milliers de personnes dans l'espace public. Ça, c'est important que l'espace public soit exploré grâce à la musique. Parce que les gens sortent de chez eux.
Ce semble que vous avez une tradition de festival.
Il y a une tradition,
parce que c'est des festivals, c'est ça.
C'est historique. C'est juste on est passé d'une tradition de moussem à une tradition de festival. Et donc après, je vais parler du printemps arabe par rapport à
So the moussem, c'est le nom?
C'est moussem,
Moussem
la
is like
fête.
traditional festivals that they have a tradition for in Morocco. That music has always been very public. That has been for a large audience. They have these traditions where people have been meeting in thousands, where people from different communities have been coming together, and music has traditionally played a very important part in these assemblies, and the communication has been done largely through the music.
Voilà. Aujourd'hui, bien sûr, les festivals ont beaucoup de succès, les artistes ont beaucoup d'occasions de se produire, mais aujourd'hui, avec ce qui se passe depuis 2 ou 3 ans, avec le printemps arabe, la question s'est posée beaucoup. Si on faisait des festivals ou pas, quel risque il y a, parce que nous, quand on discutait par rapport à notre festival, on se dit, mais le festival déjà permettait cette exploration de l'espace urbain, c'est-à-dire ça permet déjà, les gens sortaient. Et le festival a permis même aux artistes qui travaillaient sur le thème, sur les questions, sur un discours relatif au printemps arabe, d'avoir le micro et de pouvoir s'exprimer à cette occasion. Beaucoup d'artistes jeunes, notamment parler de Ouba Spirit et d'autres artistes, ont eu l'occasion d'écrire des textes ou des chansons relatifs à l'Arab Spring. Donc ça a été une occasion qui a aussi été stimulante pour les artistes pour accompagner leur temps. Parce que l'artiste, il ne peut pas être en dehors de son temps. Il est aussi le témoin de ce qui se passe en ce moment.
So the festival there's been discussions during the last few years with the Arab Spring and all the events, whether the festival should take place or not, whether one should continue the festival. But the festival has actually strengthened the possibility of artists to express their meanings about what is happening. It has given them a place and an opportunity to actually bring the events of the day into the music and to talk about it in their music. So in that way, it has also been an inspiration for the artists.
Donc c'est important que les artistes, notamment aujourd'hui, ceux qu'on voit de moins en moins, c'est les jeunes, ce qu'on appelle la scène urbaine, la musique underground. Voilà, ceux-là, on ne parle pas beaucoup d'eux, notamment en Europe. Et c'est ceux-là qu'aujourd'hui, qui sont le témoin de notre temps. C'est pour ça que ce soir, je suis très ravi d'assister au concert de Beyrouth Festival, ce programme qui est très particulier parce que ce sont des artistes que nous n'avons pas beaucoup l'occasion de voir dans les scènes arabes, dans les festivals, parce que ils sont témoins peut-être du temps d'aujourd'hui. C'est pour ça qu'il est important que des festivals comme Oslo World Music Festival donnent la scène pour cette expression.
So the young musicians, the young artists, the underground artists, the big city artists are very important, and that they have a say, that they have a way to communicate their message to the people, and that we have the Beirut and Beyond project at Oslo World Music Festival is very important. We have to introduce some questions or comments from the people here now, I think.
Hello. It works, yeah. Hello. May I speak in French or English for your guest?
Your English is good, so why not?
Or both? Do you want me to begin in French? Je voudrais en fait vous demander si vous avez entendu parler d'une histoire très particulière qu'il faut prendre avec prudence parce que c'est du domaine de la rumeur, mais un petit peu plus parce que des journalistes français ont parlé de ça. À propos avant la guerre au Mali, au Nord Mali, il y a un peu moins d'un an, un membre de Tinariwen a été arrêté par les salafistes, les terroristes, vous vous souvenez, et il a été rapidement relâché. On dit, la rumeur dit que s'il a été aussi rapidement relâché, c'est que les salafistes se sont rendus compte dans leur propre rang, puisqu'ils avaient enrôlé beaucoup de jeunes maliens très rapidement, qu'il y avait confusion, c'est-à-dire que des jeunes qui étaient auprès d'eux ont commencé à se poser la question et à dire mais c'est ça aussi la mission et le combat, là on ne comprend plus. Si c'est aussi s'attaquer à Tinariwen, ça ne va pas. Donc il a été relâché. Et il paraîtrait, je mets par prudence au conditionnel, selon certains journalistes, que cet élément a été très important pour les services secrets français, notamment quand ils ont rassemblé tous les éléments pour décider de l'intervention au Nord Mali, parce que cet élément a donné un petit peu la température et a montré une certaine faiblesse du réseau salafiste et particulièrement de tous ces jeunes qui étaient enrôlés. Do you want to translate or do you want me to try to translate? Sigbjørn.
Let him translate.
I was speaking about something, an history. We should be prudent about that because it's a rumor. But as I said, I consider it's more than a rumor that some journalists spoke about that. you can remember, we talk about North Mali, and you can remember at the end of last year, one member from Tinariwen band was arrested. He went back for a tour, I can remember. He was arrested by the terrorists, by Salafists, but he was quickly released. And it's supposed to be because the terrorists recruited some young people in North Mali. And these youth didn't understand why they arrested a member of Tinariwen. And they started to ask, is it also our mission? Is it that we don't really understand why Tinariwen? Because we love Tinariwen. And that information is supposed to be a serious element for the French secret services before they decided to go on war, because it gave to France an element of the weakness of the network, and they considered that the army they will fight was not so strong, and there are some weakness points, and most of young people recruited themselves didn't really understand what they do and where they are going.
So they illustrated the weakness of, but also maybe the strength of the music.
Have you heard about that?
Est-ce que je peux vous répondre et vous allez traduire directement ma réponse? En fait, j'ai noté ici que je voulais dire que la musique a atteint même les plus extrémistes. En fait, ils sont souvent infiltrés par la musique. C'est noté déjà ici. Et c'est l'histoire d'Intudu. Il s'appelle Intudu, le musicien de Tinariwen. Effectivement, après une tournée de Tinariwen l'année dernière, et il part toujours en Algérie, et puis ils viennent à la frontière malienne en cachette, parce qu'ils ne peuvent pas aller là où se trouve leur famille, il y a les islamistes. Donc lui, il est venu, quand ils sont revenus de la tournée de Tamaracet, il est venu, il a traversé la frontière, il est venu dans la zone occupée par les islamistes. Mais un soir, il n'a pas pu s'empêcher de jouer un peu de la guitare. Donc les islamistes ont entendu ça, ils sont partis l'arrêter, et ils devaient même lui couper les doigts parce qu'il a joué la guitare. Donc vous pouvez déjà commencer, vous pouvez traduire déjà.
Yes, you want to translate? Yes. No?
Maybe no, you can.
You're a good translator. This member of Tinariwen was very often playing in Algeria, and he went back from Tamanrasset, or
yes, from Tamanrasset.
And so he crossed the frontier, and he went back.
Zone occupée.
He crossed the occupied zone. And he went back home, but one evening he can't control himself playing guitar, and started playing, and then he was arrested. And as you said, he was supposed to the Salafis wanted to cut his fingers, but there is
le même soir, c'est-à-dire le soir, on devait couper ses doigts le lendemain. Mais le même soir, des jeunes sont venus le voir pour lui dire, écoute, c'est ce qui les garde, c'est même qui sont chargés de les garder. Sont venus le voir et lui dire, nous, on ne peut pas soutenir qu'on te coupe les doigts. Ce qu'on va faire, on va faire semblant de dormir et tu t'échappes.
Okay. So in fact, the young guys in charge of looking after him went to Intudu and told him, we are supposed to cut your fingers, but we can't accept, we can't understand that, we can't imagine doing that. So we will say that we slept, and you can escape, and we will make believe that it's our own fault. And
donc ça c'est le côté. Je connais de l'histoire. Le côté service français je connais pas. Ça c'est le côté que je connais pas.
So it doesn't know the following, as I mentioned, the link, what the French Secret Service could have as information.
The French Secret Service could actually benefit from the musicians in Mali and the position that the musicians had and the strength
but they considered
that the music has.
With that case, they considered that the young Salafists there were not so extremist and were not so convinced.
And as he said, even within the Salafists, there are music lovers.
Even
right?
music can broke the world of Salafi.
Maybe we have time for one more question. Two? Mhm.
Allô, yeah. Mon nom, moi, c'est Elvic. Elvic, c'est mon nom. J'ai deux questions. L'un pour vous et l'autre pour vous. La première sera pour vous. Vous avez dit que la musique est une arme qui peut être positive ou négative. Et dans le sens négatif, c'est que les politiciens peuvent utiliser les artistes pour pouvoir soit faire marcher la propagande pour qu'ils réussissent dans leurs élections pour être président. Ma question est de savoir, comme un artiste, quelle arme pourrais-je avoir pour pouvoir me défendre contre ces politiciens? Devrais-je avoir mon propre festival pour pouvoir me défendre? Ou, je ne sais pas, vous avez une solution pour ça? Quel genre d'arme je pourrais avoir?
So he's referring to the theme of this event, music as a weapon, and that Manny has talked about the positive and the negative side of this, music as a weapon of peace or music as the opposite. And as an artist that he is, how can he utilize this weapon? What is this weapon to him? Does he need the platform of a festival to be able to use this weapon, or how can he use it?
Bon, d'abord, en tant qu'artiste, vous avez votre ligne de vie, vous avez votre conscience. Et comme je l'ai dit, habituellement, les artistes sont pour la paix. C'est vrai, il arrive que vous ayez des pressions dans un pays, quand un président ou un ministre vous demande de passer un message ou de chanter. En fait, la façon dont je le dis, c'est qu'il arrive souvent, dans certains pays, il y a des généraux, des gens de guerre qui commettent beaucoup de crimes. Et pourtant, les artistes chantent, ils en font des héros, vous comprenez. Alors, ils le poussent encore à tuer des gens. Ça se passe souvent, surtout bon, je ne veux pas citer le pays, mais...
Non, je suis du Congo,
voilà,
j'ai vécu tout ça.
On pousse les chefs de guerre, il y a des musiciens qui chantent leurs louanges, qui les encouragent pour dire que ce sont des héros. Donc, alors qu'ils n'ont fait que tuer, souvent, même des enfants. Mais on en fait des chefs de guerre, on les respecte, et du coup, ça les pousse, on les pousse. Ça, c'est souvent une façon d'encourager le crime, d'encourager l'atteinte aux droits des hommes. Mais maintenant, par rapport à votre question, ce que je vous dis, il se peut que vous soyez sous pression, mais vous n'êtes pas obligé tout le temps. Il y a beaucoup d'artistes pour échapper à ça, préfèrent quitter le pays, mais ils essayent de rester ce qu'ils sont.
So it's your conscience as an artist that should be your guide in what you should do. And artists can be just sort of pushing the power and supporting the power and be used as a weapon in the wrong direction by the leaders. But you should resort to your own conscience, your own opinion on what is right and wrong, if I understand you correctly. Are we getting one more question?
Hi, yeah. L'autre question, en vous entendant parler, vous avez beaucoup appuyé sur la culture, que le festival dont vous avez créé, c'est pour, ça soutient plus votre culture, à ce que je comprends bien. Et aussi, ça permet à rencontrer les cultures voisines. La question est de savoir, lorsque ces rencontres s'est fait, les changements ne va-t-il pas changer totalement la culture qui est la vôtre? Et quelle garantie vous avez pour nous ou les gens de votre pays pour les rassurer que la culture ne sera pas détruite en s'y mettant ensemble avec les gens de l'extérieur?
So, it's back to what you're talking about, the meeting of cultures, and how can this benefit the local culture, and how can you guarantee the results of such a cultural meeting?
Pour répondre à votre question, pour moi c'est très simple. La culture comme la musique ne sont pas sacrées. Amin Maalouf disait que les arbres ont des racines, les hommes pas. Donc, si on a des pieds, c'est pour qu'on aille chez l'autre et que l'autre vienne chez moi. S'il arrive à nourrir ma culture, c'est extraordinaire. Si j'arrive à nourrir sa culture, c'est encore extraordinaire. Donc, il n'y a pas de sacralité ni dans la musique ni dans la culture. Ce qui reste finalement, il restera le beau, il restera le réussi. Les choses fragiles, forcément avec le temps, mourront, ne resteront pas. Donc c'est comme ça qu'on développe ces cultures, c'est comme ça qu'on ouvre les esprits aux uns et aux autres. C'est le principe que défend en tout cas aujourd'hui Timitar.
So your image is that a tree has roots, but a human has feet. And we have feet because we can walk, we can move, we can get into communication with others. And it's not about staying in one place and preserving your culture. It's about sharing and getting inspiration and giving inspiration to others. And I think we have to finish this part of the discussion here because we have a lot of people who will be talking to us. So I say thank you to both of you and to those of you who posed questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I will. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now it's my turn to have people on stage. We're about 10 minutes behind, so the break is going to be at 6:25 instead of 6:15. So bear with us. So I'd like to invite the two of you up on stage now. Please join me, Yusuf Mahmoud, director of the Sauti Busara Festival in Zanzibar. Please have a seat. And also Kirsti Lervoll of the Riddu Festival of Kåfjord, north of Norway. So now we're moving a little bit up in geography. Please have a seat. So basically, I've asked both of you to meditate on the title of this conference, Music as a Weapon, and you both have. You have been thinking about music as a weapon in your situations, in your parts of the world. Would you like to start?
Happy?
Yeah?
You're in charge. Thank you. And many thanks to Alexandra, to Maria and her team at Oslo World Music Festival. It's a wonderful program and I feel very honored to be involved, and thank you for the invitation. I was told 5 minutes is all the time I have for this short introduction. I wish it was 50 hours because it's a topic that's very dear to my heart, and thank you for giving us a chance to explore the role of music as a weapon. I first started to realize the power of music as a weapon in, I would say, 1984, when I was the regional coordinator for a branch of the anti-apartheid movement in the UK. And I'd like to come on to that a little bit later, because now I'm based in Zanzibar, an island a few degrees south of the equator in the Indian Ocean, where we have a festival every year during February. It's called Sauti Busara. The aim of Sauti Busara is to bring people together to celebrate diversity and African music under African skies. It's a space for artists with a message to have a voice. As our MD, Rebecca Kokori, who's with us, says, music is one of the most powerful tools to speak out against injustice, to celebrate life, and to express the triumphs of the human spirit. Freedom of expression is a human right, and it benefits us all when it's observed and respected. So in bringing different artists and audiences together for an event that honors local culture and freedom of expression, Sauti Busara promotes democracy and strengthens civil society. Through its African music and film programs, networking meetings and other fringe activities, the festival plays an important role in Zanzibar to counter xenophobia, to build peace, empathy, and respect for diversity. Sauti za Busara is Swahili. It means sounds of wisdom. So we're not motivated to put young men on stage to croon about flashy cars and flat-bottomed girls. Rather, we have provided a forum for many, many artists, hundreds, including Didier Awadi from Senegal, Basekou Kouyaté from Mali, Thandiswa Mazwai from South Africa, Neka from Nigeria, Comrade Fatso from Zimbabwe, Haira Arbi from Timbuktu, amongst many others, to share music with cultural identity and to communicate profoundly, heart to heart, in ways that our politicians are unable to even dream of. We would never invite artists who incite violence, racial hatred, or oppression of women. However, even providing a stage for artists to preach peace and love can sometimes be complicated. Zanzibar shares many cultural similarities with Mali, for example, where we have 90% Muslim populations. For the longest time, both countries have enjoyed reputations in the world as havens for peace, openness, tolerance, as well as unique and wonderful music. Yet, as we've learnt during the past year, Mali, where music is one of the country's greatest national treasures, music has been under siege. In the north of the country, armed rebels, many of them foreigners, set fire to instruments and threatened to cut off the hands or tongues of musicians. Allegedly, these actions were in the name of religion. But I know many Muslims here disagree strongly with that. And there was a wonderful report that many of you might know about, written by Andy Morgan, commissioned by Freemuse, called Music, Culture and Conflict in Mali, that was published earlier this year. And in there, there's some wonderful interviews with many musicians from Mali, including Rokia Traoré, and I hope you don't mind me quoting, because I was very inspired what you said to Andy Morgan in this book, Rokia. Apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently you said, I'm a Muslim. I've always been a believer, but Sharia law is not my thing. I don't believe in it, and if it has to exist in my country, I could no longer work in Mali. I would cease to exist in one way or another. And at the same time, Malian culture would cease to exist. In Africa, music is life. Against the odds, musicians in Mali do continue to make wonderful music, and please God, you will never stop. Music is a weapon. As I said before, I first began to realize the power of music as a force for change in 1984 when I heard Peter Gabriel, a musician many of you are familiar with from UK. Peter Gabriel said, music itself can't change the world. People change the world. But music can be a powerful instrument of information. I think nothing can match the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa for the power of its music. One example, a track by Peter Gabriel, a track called Biko, in which he famously sang, you can blow out a candle, but you can't blow out a fire. Once the flame begins to catch, the wind will blow it higher. This song inspired thousands to read Steve Bantu Biko's book, I Write What I Like, where we learnt of black consciousness. Meanwhile, in the 1980s, artists including Hugh Masekela, Maryam Makeba, Tracy Chapman, Peter Tosh, Special AKA, Mzwaki Mbuli, and many others moved people all over the world to rise up and get involved in solidarity with the fight for a free, non-racial South Africa. Just finally, to wind up, as Joe Boyd commented in The Guardian some years ago, the scenes of huge crowds in South Africa gathering strength from the sound of their own voices may lead us to wonder how different recent history may have been if the Palestinians, the anti-globalization warriors, and the anti-war demonstrators in Europe had songs as powerful as these, used by the people of South Africa to fuel their drive for freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. That really sums up very beautifully the heading for this conference. And you said that the festival, it plays an important role to counter xenophobia, to build peace, empathy, and respect for diversity. So in that case, when you say music is under siege, do you see your festival as a weapon for peace? The work that you do?
I think this is one of the biggest motivations for why we organize the festival. Zanzibar, thank God, is a peaceful country and has been for many centuries. And I don't think we can take that peace for granted in today's world. And learning, we need to learn from situations like the Mali situation, where a very tiny minority of crazy people, I don't like to call them religious, can stop or almost stop the music from a country. There are those elements in Zanzibar and places close by in Kenya, as people know, and Somalia. So we feel that we have a duty to keep the festival going, to make sure that local people participate, whether they're on stage or in the audience, and to encourage artists from countries like Mali and other parts of Africa to come and show what they do, to inspire local artists. And I think whether music is a tool for change or whatever, it's not. I'm not an academic, but I think the music speaks for itself.
But surely then you have to be very conscious when programming. Rebecca, this morning in another seminar, said you actually have a percentage of different ethnic minorities to make sure that it's actually a meeting point for everyone.
Yes, we do have a quota when we're programming what would be on stage. Normally we have around 40 groups performing over 4 days in the festival. And typically we'd have almost 600 applications from artists from all over Africa and beyond wanting to participate. But our selection committee, when we sit, we, as Rebecca said earlier this morning, deliberately aim to have 25% quota for Zanzibar artists, another 25% for mainland Tanzania artists, another 25% for East African other countries like Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, Uganda, and that leaves about 25% for artists from the rest of the African continent and diaspora. It's changed over the years. When we started Sauti Busara in 2004, the program was almost exclusively East African. But then slowly we realized the importance of also giving the stage to the platform to artists from other parts of Africa who can, as Brahim was saying earlier, there's a lot to be gained from artists from different countries collaborating and learning from each other to create and keep the traditions, which we value and respect very much, but to keep those traditions moving forwards.
And like you said, Zanzibar is a peaceful country, a peaceful spot on the earth, and so usually Norway is seen as well. So if we sort of zoom in on our country, and if we move slightly further up north to Kåfjord, the region where you have your festival, Riddu, where you can share your experiences from your festival.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me and inviting a Sami voice into this seminar. And I also just found out I have some of my script in my purse, so I just need to get that before I start.
And then we also can have an extra look on your beautiful
Yes.
Sami kofta, which is the
Yeah.
traditional costume of the Sami.
And the
In
Sami,
many
and the Sami
variations.
name of it is Gakti. So now you know
Gakti.
one word in Sami as well. Gakti, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Kirsti Lervoll, and I'm the director of Riddu Festival. And Riddu means little storm on the coast, and it has been arranged since 1991. The festival is located in northern Norway, in a really small community by the coast. It's an international indigenous festival with focus on Sami and indigenous peoples' arts and culture. And it has a diverse program for children, youths, and adults, like music, films, seminar, workshops, literature, and theater. The main objective of the festival was to create greater awareness about the Sami and especially about the coastal Sami, and to turn shame into pride. In our area, Kåfjord, the Sami culture was almost completely gone. Due to the Norwegian assimilation, there were not many who really wanted our area to be defined as a Sami area. So Riddu was faced with great resistance, especially in our own community. And in the beginning, there were only a few people who supported the youth when they wanted to arrange a Sami culture festival. At the same time, the festival received much external recognition, and many Sami artists praised our work. And more and more people flocked to our annual festival, and Riddu became an arena where it was safe to be Sami. On a local and national scale, Riddu has contributed to the awareness of coastal Sami and contributed in general to the Sami culture and history. And still, after 33 years, it is still important to keep working for the Sami rights and other indigenous people's rights. And as a festival, we do it through culture. So first I will speak about how music and art has been a weapon in the Sami people's struggle for respect and equality. I will talk about how music and art can work as a weapon in different ways, how music gathers people and inspire us to develop further both our community and ourselves. Many Sami artists have contributed in turning shame into pride and in passing on the horrible story about how the Sami people were threatened by the government. Through music and art, more people have knowledge about the Sami history, which has contributed to that the general public better understand the Sami people and what they have been through. And since the 60s, luckily, there were more people standing up against what had happened, and more often than before did the Sami artists use art as a protest. So through their music and art, they have criticized the government. Some have done it directly, and some have done it in a more symbolic way. And taking back the Sami language became a very important task. And making the language visible through music can be seen as a weapon fighting against the Norwegianization. And Sami music have an extra dimension, joiking. And joiking is a traditional way of Sami singing and is carried by a melody more than a text. The power of joik can be very strong, and it communicates in a different way than when songs are made of lyrics. It is a saying that joik has more power than gunpowder, and I truly believe in that. And music in general is a kind of glue, as the energy of the music brings people together makes us stronger, and makes us belong to each other in a way. In sharing the musical experience, you can take part in a fellowship and feel a sense of unity with people you share this moment with. Music can therefore have the same effect as a weapon in order to fight for rights and beliefs in a non-violent way. Music inspires us to develop both our community and ourselves. Some artists express their own feelings about issues they are concerned about. Others raise questions which makes us think and in a way inspire us to take action. There are musicians telling a story but also making wishes for the future. A great Sami artist such as Maryam, she has not only inspired the Sami and Norwegian people, she is famous all over the world and has inspired especially indigenous people to fight for their self-worth and their culture. And she's having a concert at Folketeatret on Sunday, and I welcome you all to visit that very special concert. And Maryam is the Sami music's most important and strongest weapon. Indigenous peoples and minorities all over the world share in many ways the same story. As I said in the beginning, revitalizing the Sami culture through the festival was a fight. Through our own struggle, we believe we have inspired others to continue fighting for their cause. And by inviting other indigenous to our festival, we confirm to them that we believe their culture and tradition are valuable. And through our festival, we use music and art as a weapon to fight for indigenous and Sami culture.
Thank you. I love the fact that you use the phrase, joik has more power than gunpowder. You don't know this, international guest, but this was the Norwegian contribution to the Eurovision Song Contest in the 80s. Which was quite controversial. So I suppose that this peaceful little place in the world, Norway, at the the Nobel Peace Center, we're sort of the world champions of peace, aren't we? But there is that shameful part of history with when the Norwegian government assimilated the Sami people. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that? How the Norwegian government, what did they do, and how did that, just briefly, as a background?
Yeah, as a background for the audience also. Yeah. For more than 100 years, the Norwegian government had a state policy to make the Sami people Norwegians. They used a lot of different methods, and in many ways they actually succeeded. It was forbidden to speak Sami language, and children was taken away from their families to attend boarding schools. That was both to learn Norwegian language, but also distancing them from the traditional way of living. And the church spoke out loud about how much sin the Sami culture contained. Joik was a great sin, and so was having close relations to the nature and reading signs the nature gives. And scientists actually found out that the Sami were less smarter than the Norwegian. And in total, they really put a lot of effort to suppress and insult and convey the Sami culture was without value. And this was going on for more than 100 years, so at least 3 generations. And I know this story about the Samis are similar to what other indigenous people experience all over the world. So by bringing indigenous groups from different parts of the world to our festival, we always share something. We have the same history, even if we live in very far north, or if we live in Africa or Australia, Canada. Yeah,
it's the shared story and the shared experience. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It does.
And you said music is under siege, and you say joik is a sin, and the Samis are less intelligent than the Norwegians. We've heard that story before, haven't we? Yeah. Yes. Would you like to ask a question? We'll open for.
I'm very curious, Hushta, yes? as a long-term fan of Maribonya, who I saw in UK in the 1980s and at our festival in Zanzibar a few years ago, I sometimes worry that in the world music industry, if you like, we have a tendency to look at one person per country or maximum two. So you might think in Senegal it's Youssou, or in Sami culture it's Maribonya, in Zanzibar it's Bikidude. But I wonder, is there the next generation, is Mari herself, Maribonya, or others coming up so that to keep the flag flying for Sami culture?
Yes, actually, that's a very positive trend now. We usually book artists that have given out album the same year as we have, or the year before. We like it to be fresh. And last year, when we should book for the festival, we really could choose between so many Sami artists giving out albums that year. And that usually don't happen. Well, are there any this year? Oh no, it's not. So when you're going to find Sami headliners, we often have to use the same 5 big. Or yeah, or I haven't really a number of them, but we often have to, when we want to have a really big Sami headliner, we have to go to some of the same groups after some years. After 4 years, they play again. But now it's actually more and more upcoming, talented Sami artists, not only in music but also different art.
That's great news. You could have a theme. Just
and I think festivals like Riddu really inspired young Samis to work as artists, because then they know they have an international stage, and they also can
It's like we talked about this morning in another seminar, that we need platforms.
Yes.
For the local artists to actually know that that's an opportunity. It's a possibility. We only have 2 minutes left, and there's a question. If there is a walking mic that can, it's on the second row here.
Hi again. My name is Zahaye. I'm going to ask actually a question that is an extension of this morning, because in one way I was not satisfied. My question is. You talked about how music can promote democracy, or how is going to promote music or become a weapon or promote democracy in the face of undemocratic governments? If you can explain this.
So how do you promote? That was for Yusuf?
Yeah.
Yes. As a democratic right, how do you promote that in non-democratic nations, countries?
I wouldn't say Zanzibar is necessarily undemocratic, although I think the general population have very few forums to express themselves. So, for example, we would have a diverse number of musicians on stage, people who might be young, popular, singing bongo flavor type music, or playing traditional instruments, or playing tarab, or hip-hop, or rumba, or all the other kinds of music that exist, especially in the traditional drumming and goma styles. So on stage. But like this festival, Oslo World, we do have seminars, discussions, debates. For example, there was one this year about music and censorship, which was inviting musicians, festival organizers, and someone from the Board of Censors who, in Zanzibar, the Board of Censors wishes to check all the artists, films, music groups that are performing at the festival and say yes or no if they're allowed to perform. But the representative from the Board of Censors didn't show up for the conference, so I guess it was even more democratic than he would have liked. But I think democracy is a big word, you know, and I think in Africa and Zanzibar and other parts of Africa, Norwegian and British and American models of democracy are not necessarily the best way to go. Sometimes it's good to have wise, or I don't know. I think sometimes good, strong leadership is appropriate in certain circumstances where we are, if that good, strong leadership is wise and altruistic and has the interests of the artists and the people at heart. But unfortunately, that's not always the way in any part of the world.
So it's not just about presenting the music, but also the contextualization and the seminars and the audiences.
Yes.
I'm getting notes here that we're out of time. Am I right? Or do we have one more question? Nope. That's a very... Yeah, we understand what she means. Yeah. So anyway, we need a quick break now because we've been going for 1.5 hours straight. So we need to stretch our legs and get a quick drink. But it's no more than 5 minutes. And when you return, we're going to have Tamer, and we're going to have Maryam, and we're going to have Rokia on stage, and we're going to focus more on the creative work. So 5 minutes, and then we're back. Once again. It's always like this at seminars. We keep running out of time. We could have continued for the rest of the night. I can just share a story with you while we're finding our seats. We were saying that yoik was seen way back when as illegal. And I can tell you a story that that's going on Twitter at the moment. There's Norwegian trumpeter Ole Edvard Antonsen. He recently did a concert in a church up in northern Norway, and he started yoiking. And that turned into being upheaval because he was yoiking in the church, and they saw that as blasphemy. So still in 2013, that is seen as a crime. So, yes, please, now I have my panel. I'm very happy. I'll start at the end. We have Tamer Abu Ghazaleh. You are a Palestinian, but you live in Egypt. Musician, composer, producer, administrator, member of the music collective Alif Ensemble, and partner of ICA 3, and part of the Beirut and Beyond Festival. So there's a lot of things. And Rokia, you have already been introduced, and you're a singer, songwriter, guitarist, and you're quite the rock star, really, I would say. We're a bit sort of by you. And then we have Maryam Saleh, who is based in Egypt, also singer, songwriter, plus theater and film worker, with you're described as a multi-artist, basically, and part of the band Baraka, and also part of the Beirut and Beyond Festival. So welcome to my new panel. I was expecting an applause for my panel. Not for me. So in this section, now we've talked about festival directors and organizers on how their festivals, their platforms can be used as a weapon. But now I'd like to focus more on how individual artists in your work, how you can see music as a weapon or a force or a tool or call it what you want. Also, we can debate whether music is a weapon, and if we say music is a weapon, we also say that musicians are fighters, which is not necessarily what you conceive. But I'd like to start with you, Rokia. You were quoted earlier here today as a musician with strong political opinions, and you have recently said in another visit at this festival that you just escaped from the coup d'état in March 2012. Amadou Sanogo seized power in Mali, and you you had the last flight out from the country, and after that you said that your latest album, Beautiful Africa, was changed by this, that it influenced your work directly. Did it, and how?
Actually, I was supposed to travel with the youngsters I work with in the framework of my foundation to go to Italy for a tour. Mm-hmm. That's what we are doing since 4 years. We create shows with these youngsters. It's an opportunity for them to practice and have an evolution inside a professional area. And at the same time, the fact of selling these shows, we can make money for the foundation, and we continue training young musicians. So we have just created a new show, and we were about to fly. So it was a Wednesday. In Bamako, Air France, the flight company, offers this possibility of checking in during the day you travel, because in general flights are in the night time from Bamako to Europe. And you can check in downtown at Air France agency, let your luggage, get your boarding pass, and go to airport in the night. So that's what we've done with my son. I was supposed to live with him, and it was the beginning of holidays, and let him in France with his dad, and then the rest of the band would join me in Italy and start this tour. So we checked in Air France's agency, and all stores were closed. And I asked one of my friends, because in Bamako, it's a big city, 1 million the population is 1 million, I think, but everybody knows each other. So all the people working there are my friends. So I asked them, why are you closing your stores and there's this beautiful sunny day? And they said, well, can't you hear guns from the president's house, which is in the top of a hill, and you can see from Bamako, surrounded by hills, this very big white house. And I said no, but yes, it wasn't something shocking, because since 6 months, the army couldn't agree and find solutions with the president. They were asking for more material to be able to fight against the Tuareg rebellion in the north, and the rebels were killing soldiers. So we knew that every 2-3 weeks there were some demonstrations, and it could be violent. So everybody thought it was just something like that. And I said, okay, well, so they said bye and enjoy your tour and everything, and I left. And after 5 minutes driving, I could hear that all these, guns and everything were closer and closer. And I arrived at home, and my phone rang, and a friend of mine working for Air France in France said, okay, I'm so sorry for you. What's the atmosphere in Bamako? I said, everything is fine. Why are you sorry? And he said, well, the Air France flight you were supposed, the plane you were supposed to travel with tonight, were arriving from France, because the flight leaves Paris at 4 in the afternoon, arrives in Bamako, and then leave with people from Bamako to Paris. And he said, the flight will never arrive, because they were flying, it was around Spain, when they learned that there's a coup d'etat, and they flew back.
So they returned.
And I say, it's not possible. There's nothing happening here. And 10 minutes later, I could hear people screaming, and it was a coup d'etat. And I thought, this time it's more violent, and the president is going to understand that he must communicate with the population and explain things. And okay, in 2-3 days, everything will be fine. And the day after, I could see militaries on TV saying that they have control in all the country. And then things never stopped, and it's for 2 weeks, it was getting worse and worse. And in 2 weeks' time, the biggest part of the country was occupied. And then the Tuareg's rebellion has been joined by some extremists. And it was a kind of, you are like in a very bad dream, and you want to wake up and you cannot wake up. And I've been there. I could fly with the first, it was the third flight. Once the airport opened and flight companies started to fly again, we could leave, and all the producers who scheduled the show, the tour, concerts for the tour we were supposed to do a few weeks before, were kind enough to reschedule us due to the special situation. And also they knew that it was a project with a foundation and many young people expecting to work and make money, and at the same time just be musicians through these projects. So we could make our tour, and I've never left, actually. I had to send my son at school in France, because I traveled a lot, and I couldn't let him in a country where airports were closed, something like, every 2-3 weeks. And it was, not, if I was there all the time, there was no reason to leave. My parents live in Bamako. I have relatives there and friends. I've never thought of leaving, actually. But I continued working, and we could keep our projects going on, but losing much money, because we don't have such a big budget. And the fact of moving rehearsals from Bamako to France, for example, for the project we were supposed to do next summer, and everything were really cost expensive, and eventually I could start the recording of the album. But it was a big pressure. In the same time, things happened in such a sudden way, and everybody were saying how that could happen. We couldn't imagine such a thing in Mali. Of course, myself who lived there, it was unbelievable for me. So you are in a kind of situation you just should go on. You have to keep going on and keep everything, because also all the youngsters around me were asking, okay, well, now what are we going to do? Is everything finished? Are you going to sell everything and go to France? And I said, what are you telling about? Here, it's my house. And they said, no, because you can't leave. I said, yes, but I'm not going to leave because you are here and I cannot live with all of you. So then we continued and we could do what we had to do. But it was such a pressure. And when I could eventually record the album in July in Bristol in UK, it was a kind of, I don't know, after the first days of stress and everything started, and John Parrish, who was the producer of this album, was so kind. He's a wonderful person. And I started feeling better, and I also started realizing what happened. And also, when you put TV on, you can hear about Mali. It was a good thing, because for the first time, yes, I could hear about my country so often on European medias. But in the same time, I couldn't recognize my country, because the story they were telling about wasn't what I was living and what I was in the middle of. And yes, you just want, and sometimes even you get nervous and angry, because they are telling about things like it's one of the poorest country of the world, and very bad things about the country. And you simply want to say that, okay, well, even a country where there's war, there's also people living. It's where there's war is also someone's home, someone's hope, and someone's dream. And Mali is mine, and Africa is mine. And I wanted to sing it for the others. And I also wanted to be heard over Africa by all Africans, because I wanted to say, why are we not able to find solutions in a pacific way? That doesn't mean a kind of, yes, I'm not this kind of people crazy thinking that peace all the time and in all circumstances is possible. No. But why we're not able to disagree in an adult and responsible way, respecting the others and also respecting our limits inside our freedom and ability to have an identity and, I don't know, to be free of doing things. Why we are not able to respect the other enough to understand that you cannot kill him because you disagree.
Exactly. I think that deserves an applause too. Really, yes. Thank you. And it sounds surreal. And in the middle of this coup d'etat and all this craziness around you, you are a person. And like you said, where there is war, there is people. There are homes and hopes, and there's culture. And there's music.
Of course, and all this, I mean, when I say dream and hope and home, it's all these things are inside life of every day, and music is part of life of every day. It's a means of communication, it's a means of education, it's an alternative to the violent solutions before they happen, and during the violent situation, but also after, to make peace and bound different cultures together.
And Maryam, if we're moving to another, not coup d'etat, but revolution, prior to the revolution in Egypt and during the revolution in Egypt, you were very active with your protest songs. Could you share a little on, because that's it's not the same story as Rokia, but it's the same mechanism. So could you share some of your experience with your protest songs?
طيب أنا هتكلم بالعربي علشان دي اللغة اللي بعرف أعبر بيها عن نفسي.
Yeah, Maryam will be basically talking in Arabic because she could express herself better in Arabic.
المزيكا الأغاني اللي يعني ممكن تتسمى شوية ثورية أو ضد شوية المؤسسة اللي أنا عملتها معظمها كانت قبل 25 يناير.
The music she made or she composed were basically done before the revolution or the 25th of January.
وكان في وقت ما حصلت 25 يناير أنا كنت شايفة إنه الأفضل المشاركة في الحدث ده بكوني مواطن مش فنان. كان عندي القناعة دي يعني إنه أنا أشارك في المظاهرات وإنه أنا أدخل في الاعتصامات مش إنه أنا أشارك فنيا في الثورة المصرية يعني.
So at the time of the revolution, or like during the revolution, the intention was not to participate in the protest and the sit-ins as an artist, but as a citizen, as a person who's basically for her country.
وبعد شوية وقت بعد ما حسيت إنه جزء يمكن يكون اتحقق من كان يعني من كلنا كنا نازلين طالبينه. حسيت انه انا محتاجه اشتغل على المزيكا وان انا عايز اعرف دلوقتي ايه اللي ممكن اطلعه من فن. ولما ده حصل طلعت اغنيه يعني شبه بتقول انه ما حصلش حاجه قوي. كانت كئيبة جدا وما كانتش فيها أي سعادة لأنه حسيت أنه الوضع اللي احنا فيه مش محتاج تاريخ قد ما هو محتاج الواحد يعبر عن مشاعره الشخصية جدا وبالتالي يشارك بيها الناس.
So with the time she felt like they should do something in a way to start the artistic side of her. So the song or what she felt was more sad or melancholic in a way that you didn't want to add more sadness to the people, correct?
And you became quite a symbol. I know there's big pictures of you, and so it was an important thing to do in the situation. Did you feel that you made an impact? Do you feel that your music became a weapon in a sense?
طيب أنا حاسة إنه أنا مش مقاتل. أنا ما عنديش حرب عايزة أخشها. أنا عايزة يا دوبك أعرف أتصدى للحرب الفنية اللي بتمارس علينا من قبل النظام.
So she was not a fighter. She was not there to feel as a fighter or to start a war, but to defend the art or what they were as artists they were facing from the regime or the former regime at the time.
فأعتقد إنه يعني إنه استخدام الفن كسلاح اللي أنا بشوفه هو جاي للسيطرة على الشعوب وجاي عشان المواطنين يبقوا عندهم سذاجة وسطحية كبيرة جدا فبالتالي ما يفكروش بشكل عميق أو ما يفكروش بشكل عام أو ما يدوروش على الحلول للحاجات دي. فبالتالي الشيء الوحيد اللي ممكن يتصدى لهذا الشيء هو حقيقة الحاجة. يعني إنه لو أنا مغني أو ملحن فأنا بطلع فعلا أكتر حاجة أنا حاسسها دلوقتي مش عشان موقف معين حصل علشان أنا حاسة كده دلوقتي.
Basically, artists are more sensitive in a way, and this is how they feel. So if they say something, or if they express themselves with music or songs, because they want to do this. And the former regime, they were oppressing what they were doing just because they know the people might be revolting in a way through music. So this was in a way, at the same time, like a way to stop them. Yeah.
And that came up also during previous discussions, that music is stronger than the politician's voice. That music, Tamer, about the weapon terminology that we've been talking about so much, because today you've been interviewed by one of the main newspapers, Aftenposten. You say it takes a lot for music to become an effective weapon, and you also point out that regimes have actually used music the other way around, as a propaganda tool.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. I'm quoting you. You haven't read it because it's in Norwegian. How do you feel, in your experience? I don't know what that was. Okay, I'll sit very still. In your experience, Tamer, have you had the feeling that music is stronger than the voice of politicians?
Depends on the music and the politicians, I guess.
I suppose.
I think it really depends on the context and who we're talking about, actually. I mean, I guess the music could be a weapon when it comes to curators, to programmers, to politicians who commission music making, and I think at a lot of times the artist would believe that he's making the music to fulfill him or herself, to search for something, to search for something not related to actual statements, but related to their being. I mean, related to their subconscious and its relation to what they live every day. I think it's more related to that voice and the artist's head that keeps repeating itself until it comes out in a song. And this is a voice that actually comes out of that unknown subconscious level of thinking, of experience, of interacting with people, of seeing what's happening around them. And this is why I believe, although for the artists it's more of a way not to become insane. It's a way for the artists to stay sane, actually. For people who curate and program and fund and have certain visions that they want to put together related to the actual politics and not the art, but also the art maybe. This is where music as a weapon becomes more relevant, in my opinion, because it's related to choosing things rather than waiting for things to happen. For example, a lot of songs can be done to promote peace, and it's something that artists sometimes do. However, if the listener isn't living a situation where they actually can feel they relate to this piece that the song is talking about, I don't think the song will have any meaning to anyone. And sometimes it will. I mean, sometimes it will, because as Rokia said, she had the voice in her head saying, "Mali is hers," and this is. And another example I just remembered is a choir in Egypt, the choir project, where a lot of artists and non-artists, people from all over the place, they come together and create a workshop related to composing and singing, and they come out with a joint collaborative outcome. And this workshop happens every once in a while, and the concert happens after the workshop.
And at close to 11th February, is it? It's around the time when Mubarak was forced to step away. At that time, there was a workshop right that day or the day after it, and right then and there, an extraordinarily beautiful song about utopia came out. It was called Utopia, actually. It was a really beautiful song, and the concert that night, and the concert, everyone in the theater was going crazy. The theater almost fell down from the energy there. However, a couple of days later, a couple of months maybe, this song became no more relevant. I mean, we tried singing it, but then we noticed that we don't really think we relate to that song anymore, because the situation in Egypt isn't utopia anymore. It wasn't close to what we felt and those people felt in the square, the utopia they felt in the square during the revolution. And at some point it starts feeling like, if you're pretending to sing, if you're pretending to live in utopia while it's not, or if you're singing about a utopia you experienced in the past but you're not experiencing it now, it sometimes feels like betraying yourself, like not actually saying what you feel inside. It's saying what people might want to hear, or saying what seems right by theory. And yeah, it's a long subject.
So it could actually be quite problematic, simply because you're artists living in conflicted areas. You may be used as mascots or tools, and whatever you do artistically has to have a political impact. Have you felt that you've been? Is it problematic sometimes? Do you feel that you always have to respond to the fact that you're living in an area of conflict?
As he said, it depends on the artist.
Depends on the artist and the situation.
And the situation.
But you had to, like you said, with Beautiful Africa, only when you had some distance to the actual experience of the coup d'etat, you could start working on it. So how did it actually influence your album?
It's the Beautiful Africa, the song, is the only one directly related to the coup d'etat, because all the songs were done and finished. I was just waiting. The European part of the band joined me in Bamako to make the last part of the rehearsals. And the last song, Beautiful Africa, I have added during the last days of recording, is the only one which is really directly about the situation in Mali, but also in Africa, because these last 10 years, West Africa experienced a number of conflicts which were really, yes, a bad situation and a kind of traumatic situation, seeing people killing each other on TV just in Ivory Coast, not far from Mali. And also we are countries, yes, we are different countries, but really connected with relatives living in each country. And then there was a war in Guinea-Conakry, and things were not so stable in Niger. And I've been, yes, I feel as an African, and also in Congo, and I can tell about so many African countries I was thinking about and feeling sad and bad for that, and thinking of what can we do to show that war and guns are not the solution. And then that happened in Mali. So I don't know, the song is about Africa, because it's like what we say in French, the cerise sur le gâteau. It was the last, yes, you know, it's, okay, you are sad for Ivory Coast, for Niger and Congo, so now this is where you live, where you are trying to make things happening, and where you can feel self-confident and able to make something for Africa. So what do you think of that? It's a kind of, thing, someone just, yes, that's it. what's your thinking, and are you going to be able to keep standing up and keep going on? And Beautiful Africa, the song, and the album is like an answer. Yes, I'm still there. Maybe am I crazy? But I still trust in Africa, and I trust in my ability as simple African to bring my small contribution to make changes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I just have a note here that we're way out of line and time and everything. So I'm wondering, we have time for one question, and there was a hand. So lucky you, it's a bit like the lottery. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Camille Charles. I am 24 years old, and I dance in Tabanka Crew. Some of you might have seen us last night. I just want to say about music and politics, I would believe any musician over any politician. I have learned so much about politics through rap, through hip-hop, through soul. I mean, Marvin Gaye, what's going on? You're telling me about the Vietnam War. I believe that. You know what I mean? But my question is, Africa is the birthplace of music. We all know that. The drum, the kora, Africa. As slaves, we were taken from our roots, we were taken from our continent over to the Caribbean, over to North America, and during that time, we were beaten, we were whooped for dancing, for singing, and for playing instruments. Even though we were ridiculed, we were killed, we still did it. It was a form of resistance in the sense that we still did what we loved to do, even though we could be killed for it. I'm from Jamaica. I know in Jamaica, music is like celebrated. I know that Congolese that came from Congo to Cuba, the dance is celebrated, the music is celebrated. So my question is, why is it that African music is so celebrated in the diaspora, but in Africa itself, there's a problem? People like in Congo, like you said, kids are told, don't do music because it's not what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to do different things. So my question is, why is it that there is such a problem where music is born there? Why is there such a problem with being a musician? That's my question.
That's a good question, and it's a I mean, this is the next seminar, isn't it? But do you want to give it a go?
It's a very interesting question, and to me, it's yes, everywhere in Africa the same situation. And also, it causes another problem because to be able to use music as a means of communication, which is one of the most important role of music as a weapon. As I said, to me it's more an alternative to weapons, something to go against weapons, but before we use weapons. It's how to push people to understand each other and how to educate people, and I mean, not just musicians educating the others, but also learning from the others, because music is this kind of thing, or any art performing. When you're on stage, you also learn so much from the audience, and through the experiences, working with other artists and everything, you learn much. And how to use all these things to educate and to create the will of learning, being curious about the others. And I think when we know each other, we feel enough comfortable to discuss, and we don't feel in a position to protect our environment. This is human. So how to use music that way in Africa, where we need this kind of communication and education, is something very difficult because there's no economy. Even though it's the origin, not just of music, but for now, there's nothing going against the fact that Africa is the source of humanity. But there is no this environment for musicians to be professional musicians and to be able to perform on stage and have an audience listening to them and giving them the possibility to make a living from their work, this correlationship doesn't exist in Africa. And it's a pity, because I used to say it. My career started in Mali. I was studying in Belgium, and I stopped my studies to go back to Mali to start my project. And it was something, yes, very bad. I've been criticized by people because I used to make songs for the national TV, and when I left for my studies, everybody knew in Mali. And when I came back, people used to tell me in the street, is it you, Rokia? And I say, yes. Why did you do that? You have an opportunity to go to Europe and you come back for music. And, you know, I was so disappointed to see that I wasn't supported by people around me. And ourselves, we don't trust in Africa. It's not just for music. We are all the time thinking of living. And we have subsidies and supports from developed countries to, manage the situations in war, not to make things in a way to avoid war. And how we can avoid this general situation in Africa today, which is, I think, as I said, I cannot understand where we must be yes, respectful and get all together to fight and make this continent as beautiful as it is. We are the problem of Africa. Africans are the problem. It's not the continent itself. There's everything there to make things the right way. But why are we not able to do that? We need to know each other, because our history is a very sad one. Since centuries, through slavery and then colonization, we've been, yes, we've been living ruptures between ourselves and our past and our history. So we need education, we need culture, we need arts, we need all these skills to be able to make people self-confident and understanding. We are people who are able to think, imagine, and to have to dream and make dreams true. So it's a sad situation, but we just simply need to organize a music industry in Africa and a general culture, musical. For all different governments to have a politic in terms of culture and communicate between themselves. And Africa United is not simply because I dream about it, but it's because I'm realistic. Each African country cannot be developed without Africa as a whole continent.
That is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. You managed to answer the question. Thank you. I have to, are we finished? We were supposed to end with a song, but there is, and that is going to happen. Very good. I don't have that thing on my ear, so I have to be, yeah. So, well, first of all, thank you for attending the panel, and thank you for questions. We should have had much more time.
And we cannot end with a song.
Yes, we are going to.
How pleasant it will be before God and man, to see the unification of all Africans. As it's been said already, let it be done. We are the children of the Rastaman. We are the children of the I Am. So, Africa unite, 'cause they're living right off of Babylon, and we're going to the mainland. Woo!
And thank you. And are we going to have another song? Yes, we are. So we are going to have another song. So Maryam and Tamer, please take the stage. Could I have some? So while you're making yourselves ready to go on stage, I just want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for being patient with me, unable to cut in the debates and discussions because they're so interesting. I want you to continue coming to seminars, and I want you to really go and enjoy the Oslo World Music Festival. It starts tonight, and it continues until Sunday. So, are we ready? Yes. Maryam and Tamer, the stage is yours.
خضراء كانت والسماء غابة زرقاء كانت يا حبيبي غابة الزيتون كانت مرة خضراء كانت والسماء غابة زرقاء كانت يا حبيبي ما الذي غيرها هذا المساء
أوقفوا سيارة العمال في منعطف الدرب وكانوا هادئين وأدارونا إلى الشرق وكانوا هادئين
كان قلبي مرة عصفورة زرقاء يعش حبيبي ومناديلك عندي كلها بيضاء كان قلبي مرة عصفورة زرقاء يعش حبيبي ومناديلك عندي كلها بيضاء كانت يا حبيبي ما الذي لطخها هذا المساء أنا لا أفهم شيئا يا حبيبي
أوقفوا سيارة العمال في منعطف الدرب